So maybe just to kind of close out the kind of the DeFi piece, one of the things that certain industry groups are talking about, one that I'm involved in is the Enterprise Ethereum Alliance, and we're talking about promulgating some set performance standards for protocol reporting, right? But in the earlier vein about providing potentially third-party assurance, one of the things we're also kicking around is, one of the things that might be preventing more scaled enterprise adoption of DeFi smart contracts is it's risk, right? It's smart contract risk, it's Oracle risk, it's all sorts of risks just really all come together and come to a head if you were looking to deploy institutional capital, enterprise capital into a DeFi protocol. I don't want to do it because there's too much risk going on. I don't have great, I don't have a great due diligence playbook, and I don't see any large accounting firms providing any assurance around any of these protocols. Is there an opportunity to promulgate, for example, a particular set of criteria against which to do a smart contract attestation, right? Would that be part of a kind of the diligence suite that would make people a bit more comfortable with adopting DeFi protocols for enterprise use? So Kevin, you want to close out?
Yeah. So kind of thinking through some of the takeaways here, there's obviously a huge opportunity here for blockchain to kind of play a role in continuous assurance. With everything being on a blockchain, there's obvious benefits to that transparency, that real-time assurance is evident there. And I think that we're still just starting to scratch the surface of what's possible there. You do see some of the same risks that we're used to seeing in accounting and auditing, just in different versions. And so you don't have to totally rethink everything you thought previously, but you do have to look at it through a little bit of a different lens, which is really a fun way to look at blockchain, we think, at least. And then kind of thinking through continuous assurance of that piece of a puzzle. And just because something is on chain doesn't mean it's necessarily 100% factual. There are controls that need to be in place. If you're working with bad data, you'll get bad outputs. So really kind of pushing your conventional thinking that whatever's on chain is factual, you really do have to think about the other kind of aspects of it. And that's where different companies can come into play to provide that assurance.
Yeah, and we've heard of efforts to put supply chains on blockchains, efforts to put traditional financial assets on blockchains. Anytime there's an off-chain element, there's an opportunity to provide third-party assurance, right? So I think about even the most simple case that we confront a lot, which is when custody is done on a commingled basis, where there's not a one-to-one from our clients. Our audit clients say, these are my digital assets. They're at a third-party custodian, but all in a commingled address. So there's not, I can't go to the blockchain and say, that's my client's balance right there. I have to really rely on the custodian providing some control transparency. Typically, we look for a SOC report in that case, but more and more, I think we're seeing a lot of crypto native firms trying to serve institutional markets, but it's economically more efficient for them to provide commingled custody. It's just a lot more nimble and frankly cheaper. But I think the challenge is a lot of those same crypto native shops are still at a different point in I would say, their maturity curve in terms of being able to provide institutional support in the form of like a service organization report. So
yeah, absolutely. It's very fascinating to see a lot of the crypto native companies work with the traditional larger institutional companies and how they work together, especially on that maturity curve there. The last point we had here was just around kind of looking forward and kind of thinking through what kind of regulator guidance should we expect to see, understanding that it's still very early and a lot of education still needs to be done with regulators between ourselves. And that's why some of these events are great to get to kind of talk through and ask questions and push the boundaries of what we think is possible and what we think we understand.